Shalom, Kolayim La Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. Let's look at them honest today. Was a GMS and honest you Akim. And peace and bless you, brothers and sisters that listen. Hopeful elect. Kolayim La Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. And do this quick video today is the property Yahweh Bashim Al Shah. I talked in the last video. I went to this video on the carpenters, man. The builders, spiritual builders for this new temple. Mainly going through the book of Zechariah, the first chapter. You know, Zechariah was during the time of when the second temple was being built. During the time of Zerubbabel and Joshua led the charge. Zerubbabel being the governor and Joshua being the high priest. And the Most High sent him and Haggai out there, Zechariah and Haggai, to pretty much rebuke them to get out there and to build this temple. And the last video I went into the foundation. That stone that we're building on is Yahweh Shai. And he's also that stone in Zechariah the 3rd chapter with the 7 eyes, man. That we're building upon, man. Okay, now I want to go to Zechariah the 1st chapter, go into these carpenters. Let's go straight into it. Zechariah chapter 1, where he's speaking with the angel. Let's start verse 17. It says, "Cry yet, saying, Thus saith Yahweh Shemel Shah of hosts, My cities through prosperity shall yet spread abroad. And Yahweh Shemel Shah shall yet comfort Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. Then lifted up mine eyes and saw, behold, 4 horns." So Zechariah saw 4 horns. He had many visions, but in this vision right here, we're going through mainly the carpenters, but he saw the horns. All right, which we know horns is synonymous with the scriptures with power. All right, and we're going to go into who these horns are real quick. "And I said unto the angel that talked with me, What be these be? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem," scattered the tribes. So who are these horns that scattered the tribes, man? Let me jump straight into it. Daniel the 7th chapter. Because he had a vision on this first. Okay. Let's go. Daniel chapter 7. I'm going to jump straight into it. Okay. Daniel chapter 7. Verse. Let's start from 1. "And in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions upon his head, visions of his head upon his bed. And he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spoke and said, I saw my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse from one another. And the first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. And beheld the wings, till the wings thereof were plucked. It was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon his feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And beheld another beast, a second like unto a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and had 3 ribs in his mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and said thus unto it, Arise and devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, like a leopard which had upon it the back of 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns." Okay. So now, who are these 4 beasts? Because Daniel didn't understand the vision that he just saw. So let me read verse 15. "And I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. And I came up near unto one of them that stood by the angel, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made known the interpretation of the things. These great beasts which are 4 kings which shall rise out of the earth. The 4 empires, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks, and the Romans, man. Which we have videos on this. I guess I'll do another video, extensive video on this another time. But mainly when it's going to what? The horns. Okay? Showing you that the horns are synonymous with power as well as a kingdom. Let me jump straight down. Verse 24. And this is going into the 4th beast, which you know is the Greco-Roman Empire. Okay? And today we know is NATO and the EU. It says, and the 10 horns out of the kingdom are 10 kings that shall rise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue the 3 kings. So the 10 horns are what? 10 kings. All right, that shall arise, and another shall rise after them. All right, this is the same beast that's in the book of Revelations with the 7 heads and the 10 horns. Right, we know it's the Roman Empire, and the scripture tells you his deadly wound was healed. So the 10 horns are what? 10 kings. And the angel also breaks that down in Revelations, the 17th chapter. So we're going into the horns is synonymous with power. Let me also read one more precept, Daniel the 8th chapter, before I jump to the carpenters. Daniel chapter 8, verse 7. Okay. It says, Daniel chapter 8, verse, I guess it's 3. Well, he's going into the same vision again. Okay. He said, verse 3, then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, behold, they stood before the river a ram, which had 2 horns. And the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. This is going into the Medo-Persian Empire. Eventually the Persians took over. And I saw the ram running westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. Okay. Let me read on to verse 7. Let's read verse 5. And I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth. The goat is Alexander the Greek. And touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in fear of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with clover against him, and smote the ram and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him. So the horn was synonymous with power. All right. And we also know that was going into what? The kingdoms. So that's what Zechariah, the 1st chapter, was going into. Now jumping back, I want to get into the carpenters. Okay. All right. Which we know Yahweh Shai was a carpenter, and we're also spiritual carpenters as well, man. You know, carpenters, they installed the structure, the stud, they designed the cabinets, everything, man. We're going into the temple. The door handles, the locks, the hinges, the fixtures, everything. All right. They installed the framework. That's what we're doing spiritually. Right. And that's what I want to go into right now. You brothers, man, from the apostles, the elders on down. We're those carpenters. Let me read on though. Zechariah chapter 1, verse 19. Let's jump back. All right, so we went into verse 19, verse 20. And Yahweh Shemal Shah showed me 4 carpenters, which is not literally 4 carpenters. Okay, then let me read on. All right, matter of fact, I think, yeah. So who are the 4 carpenters, man? The scripture also called them what? Saviors. Let me get that. Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 27. Let me get that. Matter of fact, let me read on verse 20, 21. Then said I, what come these to do, the carpenters? And he spake, saying, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. But these are come to fray them, or to make them afraid. Okay, the carpenters, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter it. Okay, and like we're going into, it's not literally 4. This is the saviors, man. Let me read that Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 27 first. Right? Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 27. Because throughout each horn, throughout each captivity, you always had a remnant. Right? Let me get Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 27. Nehemiah chapter 9. Verse 27. It says, therefore thou deliverest them into the hand of their enemies, the Israelites, who vexed them. And in the time of their trouble, when they cried unto Yahweh Shemal Shah, Thou heardest them from heaven, and according to thy manifold mercies, thou gavest them saviors who saved them out of the hands of their enemies, man. Okay? You could go into the book of Judges. We had Othniel, you had Gideon, you had who else? Samson, you had Jephthah. Okay? You had Ehud, man. Right? The Lord sent saviors. Then you later on, you had Samuel, you had Saul, you had what? King David. And now we going into these four major empires. You had what? You always had a remnant. In the Babylonian captivity, you had what? Daniel. All right? You had Abshak, Meshach, Abednego. To the Persians and the Medes, you had what? Zerubbabel and Joshua. You also had what? Ezra and Nehemiah, who were major pillars for rebuilding the second temple. During the time of the Greeks, you had the Hasmonean dynasty, right? Judas Maccabees, Matthias and Judas Maccabees and his brethren that rose up and restored the temple when the Greeks desecrated it. And of course, during the time of the Romans, you had Yahushua and the 12 disciples, man. And before that, you had John the Baptist who prepared the way, and the rest of the apostles, man. So they were the carpenters that frayed them, that made them afraid. And now today you have what? All ties into the 144, man. All right. So the scripture says, let me get that in Nehemiah, the 4th chapter. Matter of fact, let me get that Revelation 11 and 10. And let me get Ecclesiastes after this. In Revelation 11 and 10 before I read Zechariah again. Revelation chapter 11 verse 10, it says, and they dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, the two witnesses, also the two olive trees. You also read in the book of Zechariah as well. Right, going into the two kingdoms. It says, and make merry and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt upon the earth. And after 3 days and a half, the 350 years, the spirit of life, the Rakakwadash, from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. So made what? Frayed them, like we read in the book of Zechariah, chapter 1, verse 21. So the 144, okay? The carpenters, we're building this new temple, man, spiritually. And it's making our enemies afraid. Just like you had during the time of Zerubbabel and Joshua, right? They tried to hinder us from finishing the temple because they understood the temple was our point of connection with our power, man. That's why they kept trying to hinder us when you read the book of Ezra. And the enemy is going to do the same thing again. Scripture says it's going to be a great insurrection on those that fear Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man. So he wants to stop us from assembling, but he can't do it. Right? That's why the scripture says in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 10, what did the Lord say? Let's get to Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 10. It says, see, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms, to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant. What are we building? Okay. Like we said, we're spiritually building this new temple. At the same time, we're destroying and we're pulling this one down, man. Spiritually. Right? The Lord said he was going to come against them by the sword of his mouth, which what? The prophets, the builders. And he also said that he will make us what? A defense city. Let me read that verse 18. For behold, I will make thee this day a defense city, an iron pillar, a brazen wall against the whole land, against the kings of Judah, against the princes thereof, against the priests thereof, and against the people of the land, man. And they shall fight against thee, but they shall not prevail against thee, for I am with thee, saith Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, to deliver thee. So nobody's going to hinder this thing from being built, man. Nobody, man. Yahushua said the gates of hell cannot prevail against this truth. And like I was going into the building of the temple, let me get that, the book of Zechariah, the 4th chapter. And let me get the book of Ecclesiastes after this. And Nehemiah, man. Oh, man. Precepts. Let me get Zechariah chapter 4, verse 9. Okay. The scripture says, verse 8, moreover, the word of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua came unto me, saying, the hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. right? We'll go to the second temple, but we know spiritually today as well. If you can't receive it, Zerubbabel is King David, man. Which we know today, spiritually, Peter, man, the head apostle, right? He's always when it comes to building this house, he's always at the forefront. Just like King David gave Solomon the blueprint, Zerubbabel laid the foundation, and then you had Peter, who the church was founded upon. Okay? It says, the hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hand shall also finish it. And thou shalt know that Yahweh Shemel Shah of hosts have sent me unto you. Right? The carpenters, man. And like I stated before, the enemy, they try to hinder us from building. Let me get that in the book of Nehemiah to prove that actually. Because I quoted it, but let me actually read it. Right? So the four carpenters are who? Is the elect, man. The 144. And we're freeing these nations by making them afraid. Just like back then when they were building the second temple. Right? Let me read Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 1. And it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we builded the wall, he was wroth and took great indignation and mocked the Jews. See, this is when we were finishing the temple. And he spake before his brethren in the army of Samaria and said, what do these feeble Jews? Will they fortify themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they make an end in a day? Will they revive the stones of the heaps of the rubbish which they are burned? Now Tobiah the Ammonite was by him, and he said, even that which they build, if a fox go up, he shall even break down their stone wall. See, so every time we try to build, they try to break down the walls, man. Stop it from being built. It says, hear, O our power, for we are despised, Nehemiah said this, and turn their reproach upon their own head, and give them for a prey in the land of captivity. And cover not their iniquity, and let not their sin be blotted out before thee. For they have provoked thee to anger before the builders, the carpenters. See? So that the nations were trying to stop us from building the temple. It was trying to provoke us to anger. All right? But Yahweh Shemel Shah said in this day and time, they couldn't stop them back then. And they're not going to stop us today. All right? So that goes with the prophecy, man. That's why, let me get what Solomon said, Ecclesiastes 12 and 11. So we're making them afraid, man. Get this, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 11. This is Solomon. It says, the words of the wise are as golds, right? Which I think a goad is like a, that was used to pretty much guide your livestock, right? The ox, okay? It was like a long stick, and it's to use to control him, all right? When he's pulling the cart. So the scripture says what? Let's read it again. The words of a wise are as golds, and as nails fastened by the masters of assembly. What are the masters of assembly that's fastening the nails? The carpenters, man. Which are what? The apostles and you brothers on down, man. Scripture calls you the masters of assembly, which are given from one shepherd, man. Okay? So we're fastening the nails, we're building the walls, we're fixing the infrastructure, setting up the framework, the doors, the handles, putting everything into place before the chief cornerstone that we're building upon that keeps all the stones together is Yahweh Shai. And just like back then, the nations, they tried to hinder us from building the temple. Ishar today, he's going to try to hinder us from building the temple, man. From gathering the elect, from gathering the rest of the elect, man. Right? That's coming, man. Persecution is coming. But like Yahweh Shai said, the gates of hell can't even prevail against this thing. So the scripture deals with very, like we said, farming, agriculture, also deals with what? Carpentry. Yahweh Shai occupation was being a carpenter. That was all spiritual, man. Scripture also talks about what? Being fishers of men. See, many occupations the Lord used to what? Talk about his elect. Right? We talk about agriculture, his vineyard, his precious vine, his grapes, his fruit. Right? The sheep. Right? And in this lesson, we're going into what? The carpenters building this temple. Scripture also calls what I just read it, the masters of assembly, and is making the nations afraid. Right? That's why the Apostle Paul talked about. Let me get 1 Corinthians, the 3rd chapter. I could really do a real long lesson on this, but I really want to summarize it and make it simple. All right. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 9. He said, "For we are laborers together with the Most High. Ye are the Most High's husbandry, farming. Ye are the Most High's building." Okay. "According to the grace of the Most High, which is given unto me as a wise master builder." We're wise, like Paul said, he's a wise master builder. "I have laid the foundation, another man builded thereupon. But let every man take heed how he builded thereupon. Like Yahushua said, you enter it into other men's labors." That's where you have elders and teachers. They paved the way for you to be doing what you're doing now. But like Scripture says, certain men are disobedient to parents. Okay? So he said he's a wise master builder. Like it was less we're going into what the carpenters, man. The elect. He said, verse 11, "For other foundation can no man lay that is laid, which is Yahushua Mashiach." He is the foundation. He is the stone. Okay, so Kolim La Yahushua, you always had a remnant throughout each captivity. And this right now, the last captivity, the Most High is gathering his elect, the 144. Right? And we're fastening the nails. And the scripture says, what? You're the masters of assembly, man. So that's no small thing, man. So Kolim La Yahushua, man. For the carpenters, man. All right? Like we said, that the nations knew the importance of the temple. Now we're the temple now. So there's no one place where they could just sack it. Just like all the Babylonians did. Read about when they try to hinder us, these nations building the second temple. The Greeks desecrated the desecrated the second temple, and the Maccabees restored it, and the Romans finally destroyed it. But now this is spiritual now, man. Okay? They can't stop all of us, man. All right? And we're gathering right now, man. So Kolim La Yahushua Shine. Adamad Ratazah, we have that number. All right? So hopefully this lesson was edifying. To say Kolim La Yahushua Hashem Yahushai Shalom.